Hi there, this is Megan with Left in Knots, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to crochet the spike double crochet V-stitch. To start this stitch, you're going to chain a multiple of 3 plus 4. So that would be, for example, a multiple of 3 would be 6 plus 4 is 10, or a multiple of 3 is 9 plus 4 is 13. So any multiple of 3 plus 4 will get you the right number of chains that you'll need to start this stitch. I'm working this stitch in rows. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to demonstrate just a small swatch for you today. This is a pretty simple stitch. So now that I've got 10 chain stitches, I'm going to half double crochet in the third chain from my hook, and then half double crochet across the rest of those chain stitches. And so that will leave me with 8 stitches in my row because I used 2 of those chain stitches to turn. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches across. Now we're going to go on to our second row. This is going to be a row of just typical V stitches using the double crochet stitch. I like to chain 2, turn my piece, and double crochet in the first stitch of the row. Now I'm going to skip my next stitch and work a V stitch into the third stitch of my row here. The V stitch is just going to be a double crochet, so insert your hook to that third stitch, chain 1, and then double crochet back in that third stitch again. And you can see that's what makes our V shape. Now I'm going to skip 1, 2 stitches and do another V stitch after skipping 2 stitches. So 1, 2 in this third stitch from where I'm at. I'm going to work another V stitch, which is double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So now you've got 2 V stitches in that row. Like I said, I'm doing a small sample swatch here, so this is actually the end of our row already. So when you get to the end of your row, you're just going to keep that same pattern, skip 2, double crochet V, skip 2, double crochet V. And when you get to the last double crochet V of your row, you're going to skip 1 and double crochet in the last stitch of your row. And that just creates a nice clean border or edge for your piece. So here we are so far. This is just looking like a typical traditional V-stitch. Now I'm going to tightly chain 2. I do a tight chain 2 for my half double crochet stitches. Turn my piece, and I'm going to work a half double crochet stitch in each stitch across. When I get to these V stitches, I typically just work into that chain space instead of into the stitch. It's really your choice, but that's how I do it. So 8 half double crochet across. And this next row is where the spiked double crochet V-stitch comes in. So I chain 2 just like I did on my last row of V-stitches. I turn my work and I double crochet into this first stitch. That's all the same. But now when I go to do my V-stitch, I'm going to yarn over, and instead of skipping one and inserting my hook into this third stitch of the row here, like we did last time, I'm going to yarn over and insert my hook into this chain space of the V-stitch from 2 rows prior. So that's the spike part of this stitch. So we yarn over, insert our hook, and then complete it like a double crochet after you pull that yarn up. Chain 1, let's do the other spiked double crochet for this V-stitch. We yarn over, insert the hook into this V-stitch space 2 rows prior, pull up a loop. Make sure your loop is long enough to come up to your next row. You can see I'm not working too tightly here because you want that to come up to your row that you're working on, and then finish your double crochet stitch. And so that is your first double crochet V spike stitch. Now I'm going to do the same thing, skip 2 stitches, and then work another double crochet V spike stitch into this chain space from 2 rows prior. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, pull up a loose loop, yarn over, and finish my double crochet stitch. Chain 1, yarn over, insert it into that V-stitch space, and finish my double crochet stitch. Now I've finished my last V-stitch of the row, so I'm going to skip 1 stitch and double crochet in the last space of the row. Now the rest of this stitch is just repeating rows 3 and 4 until you reach the desired length for your pattern. I'm going to take a quick break and crochet a few more rows of this swatch so that you can see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm back. I finished just a few more rows of this stitch so that you can see I added 1 more row of the spiked V-stitch so that you can see the overall effect that it creates. I'll lift it up. It's a little bit easier to see when the light shines through it. So this kind of creates a hybrid between a V-stitch and a block stitch. It creates a really pretty texture that almost looks like a faux braid when you get a lot of these rows lining up against each other. So I will link a few free patterns that I have that use this stitch below in the video description. Or if you're currently on my website, you're probably looking at one of those patterns right now. I also have over 200 other free crochet patterns on my website, www.leftandknots.com, and I've also got more video tutorials and stitch tutorials on YouTube. So subscribe below, please, to be updated about all my free video tutorials. And you can sign up for my newsletter to be notified of all my free crochet patterns. Have a great day.